of the racetracks that already exist here. I'm not comparing it with past experiences or future. That was corruptible. Well, I live in Oklahoma. I am an Oklahoman, and I intend to be the rest of my life. And if I thought it was anything bad about it, I would not be here right now. I'd be voting for it, but I'd be in the background. But I believe with my heart and my conscience and my moral values that I got from my folks that it's for the good of Oklahoma, for the Oklahoma people, and for Oklahoma horses.
$16,515 head of cattle went through the ring. This wasn't a record, though. In fact, back on March 17th of this year, 20,904 head of cattle went on the auction block. Officials at the stockyards averaged selling a little more than 1,000 head per hour yesterday. The sale began at 8 in the morning and ended at midnight. The president of the Oklahoma National Stockyards says one of the reasons for all the activity yesterday is because pasture across the state is thinning out.
The runs were a little bit slower in July, and we're seeing them beginning to pick up here into August and probably on into September. Old grass is getting pretty dry out across the state in a lot of the areas, and certainly yesterday we saw big yearling type cattle, and we haven't really seen calf runs begin. But we're looking forward to them. It's a good market all day yesterday, and we're looking for another 3,500 to 4,000 head of cattle today and another good run today.
Employees at the stockyards, like auction clerk Mo Bella, don't look forward to those long hours on the job, but they realize it just comes with the territory when you work at the largest cattle market in the world. Ben McCain, Action 4, the Oklahoma National Stockyards.
Best price I can. Tenneco is up quite a bit. Well, we've got 74 million.
Apparently, they plan to have City Service run as a separate operating company. Thus, there will be virtually no change in what they're doing now and as far as the employees are concerned from what has been in the past.
How do you think Occidental shares will be affected on this?
They've already been affected. Okay, as soon as the news came out.
The primary election has meant a lot of signs people are sick and tired of seeing.
Yeah, make them clean that trash in there.
By law, campaign signs are not supposed to be put up on the city right away, yet it's the best place to get the attention of passing motorists. So why aren't fines being handed out to violators?
We've driven around the city and have seen in this primary time how many people are running for office and how many signs are up. We just simply do not have the staff to go out and enforce this kind of an ordinance. We couldn't do it.
Officials say signs can be placed on private property with the owner's permission. If an unwanted sign ends up on your property, you are responsible for it whether you put it there or not. And if that annoys you, officials say you can take legal action. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
The veterans have been here in Oklahoma City all week long. Tonight's banquet wrapped up a busy 7 days that included everything from listening to speakers to attending Governor Nye's campaign party the night of the elections. The fun was second, though, to some very important talks. The executive director of the organization says the discussions covered the realm.
Most recently, we've had an opportunity to discuss whether or not this country can withstand the president's veto of the money that was so badly needed for some of the social programs. It's interesting to me that we talk about keep getting people back to work, and yet there's no way that we can make them tax generators rather than tax consumers unless we provide them the kind of training and education necessary after once having a disability so they can go back to work and start earning for themselves.
The banquet and convention were held here at the Sheraton Century Center for a good reason. 3/4 of the veterans are in wheelchairs, and the Sheraton is one of only 2 hotels in the city barrier-free or totally equipped for the handicapped. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 in downtown Oklahoma City.
You wouldn't think you would find the latest fad at a dairy, but these plastic blue containers seem to be very functional. People have been using them to decorate their homes. They pick them up outside supermarkets, and that's the problem. They're not paying for them. That cost this milk plant in Norman $3 a crate. Last year, 30,000 crates disappeared. Nationwide, the dairy crate theft is a $90 million loss. If the current trend continues, dairymen will have no choice but to raise milk prices.
They have become so popular for so many reasons that our losses have just continued to increase.
And so what's going to happen if you continue losing them?
Well, eventually this cost will have to be borne by the ultimate consumer of the milk products. So it's not just a processing plant's problem, it's the consumer's problem also.
The problem is that the crates are so functional. Local department stores have been duplicating them, but they're just not built like the real thing. Meantime, the problem is getting so out of hand that if people continue to steal these, beginning October 1st, they can face a $20 fine or 10 days in jail. Bellashaw, Action 4 in Norman. Along the streets near the stockyards of Oklahoma City, there are dozens of Western stores. The stores have catered to a clientele of bona fide cowboys until a couple of years ago when a smash movie hit called Urban Cowboy came along. Then Western wear became a fad. Of course, prices naturally went up. And like many fads, what's in will someday go out. The Western stores across the country have been hurt by the loss of the Urban Cowboy craze, but Oklahoma's Western wear business looks pretty secure. For one thing, Western wear in Oklahoma is a way of life. This store has been open 50 years, and some of the same people still come here as when the store first opened. When everybody started turning cowboy, the store was delighted. Sales picked up tremendously, but the store knew it couldn't last. And when the Urban Cowboy look went out, prices started coming down. The store soon got rid of all its fad items and went back to the basics, and that's what's selling now.
We knew there's quite a bit of a fad there, especially in the real expensive leather coats, the different types of Western hats that was never sold before. They were real fashion Western hats instead of now we're back to a staple type Western hat, which is easier to merchandise and looks a little better on the Western wearer too.
And to think that when the Urban Cowboy look was in, people would buy several hats, some at $200 a piece to match all their outfits. Real cowboys might wear a hat several years before buying a new one. Blouses now have ruffles. Jeans are cut straight and narrow. Belts are splashed with bright colors. And boots are built for comfort as well as style. So boots are selling, jeans are selling, belts are selling, shirts are still a big item. The only thing not selling as fast as they used to are hats. But who needs them anyway in the Oklahoma wind? As they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. In Oklahoma, do as their ancestors have done. After all, wouldn't these guys look a little silly attending an auction wearing the preppy look? Bellashaw, Action 4. Traffic was backed up for miles. Motorists spent an hour sitting idle. The accident occurred in the eastbound lane of Interstate 40 near the Lincoln Boulevard exit. The driver of a blue pickup truck had lost his drive shaft. He swerved into an El Camino, and the driver of the truck had no choice but to veer off the road at 50 miles an hour. He hit the embankment, and all of a sudden thousands of marbles started spilling from the truck. Truck driver Max Brown from Springfield, Missouri said a lot of things came to his mind.
Well, both doors were jammed, and I was wanting to get out of it before it might explode or get on fire. And with all these marbles on the ground, I couldn't run if I'd have got out.
Max Brown wasn't even injured, but 4 people were taken to Midwest City Hospital. Ricky Ush, John Lassiter, Orville Brown, and Dana Corcoran all in good condition. But it's amazing someone wasn't hurt with all the marbles scattered around. Highway patrol officers had to move cautiously as they pieced together the events of the accident. There was oil and grease on the road, and the marbles on top of the oil made it very slick. Obviously, it was impossible to bring in a tow truck to haul the vehicles away until the marbles were rolled off the road. A bulldozer was brought in to scoop up the marbles. It took 2 hours to clean up the mess, and it was early afternoon before the road opened up again. What happened to the 41,000 pounds of marbles? They were dumped off the side of the road, and the ironic part is the motorists who waited for hours never even knew what happened. Bellishaw, Action 4 on Interstate 40.
Testified in this matter during the state's case in chief, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And you are a detective with him to speak with one Cheryl Ash.
I did. Harmon.
Michael Harmon, excuse me.
Telephone call.
Where did you call him?
I called him at his residence. I asked Mr. Beck.
Body was punctured so many times. Both lungs were punctured, and the head have necessarily been fatal. Head wounds themselves, in and of themselves, would not.
A silent burglary alarm called police to the warehouse and executive offices for Soundtrack a little before midnight last night. Among those who were on the scene were officers Ron Houck and Dave Dykus. When the officers arrived, they spotted a man, identified now as 20-year-old Brett Wayne Lubbock. He was inside the building, apparently stacking stereo equipment next to a door. Officers surrounded the building. Last night, after the incident was over, they said they found burglary tools, but no weapons. When officers Dykus and Houck spotted the suspect running from the warehouse, they ordered him to stop.
The officers cautioned him repeatedly to stop. He, however, did not heed those warnings. Officer Dykus fired one shot from his service revolver. That shot apparently did not strike the man. Officer Ron Houck fired one shot from his police shotgun, and that shot did wound the man. The man was taken to Baptist Hospital, where he died a short time later.
The police review board will study the actions of the 2 officers involved. In the meantime, Officer Ron Houck, the man whose gun blast killed the suspect, has been routinely suspended from active field duty. Officer Dykus, the man who fired and missed, has not. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 at the police headquarters. Okay.
When the record goes around.
There is a part in us all that revolves around the past, the gone but the not forgotten. And there are many keys to that part of us. For these people, it's black vinyl discs, and at times, more importantly, their wrappings. This Beatles cover caused outrage when the record was released, so a new cover was pasted on. Now the original cover alone can catch between $200 and $1,000, depending on its condition. But for most of the people here, conventions like this one are a time to try to find those records they grew up with. A time to find an old friend.
For the collecting value of it and to collect all the oldies that I like. So it's a nostalgia thing, too.
Every now and then you throw in one that wasn't a hit that we just liked.
But sentimentality aside, fond memories of the past have their advantages in the present, too.
That same old song keeps on playing over and over and over and over.
Charles Schnetzer, Action 4.
I'm not ready to announce the nature or, the exact type of repair because we have not made any arrests. We have not completed that investigation. All the rest of them are still in the pleading stage. We're going to take that decision to the Supreme Court of this state and hopefully reverse it. Not only that, last Friday I doubled my investigative staff working on consumer fraud. We have an ongoing investigation at this time, which hopefully will be consummated within the next 2 to 4 weeks. One of the cases was presented to a local district judge, case involving TG&Y, and that judge granted a summary judgment in behalf of the corporation TG&Y, a corporation that elected, rather than to clean up its mess and to quit ripping off the citizens of this county, elected to get a high-powered law firm and go into the courtroom and try to defend the methods by which they've operated. This is the only action that's been at our investigation was to randomly, so I know it would be different if we tried to different judges probably, announce the nature or the exact type of repair because we have not made any arrests. We have not completed that investigation, but it is ongoing and the resources dedicated to it have been doubled as of last Friday.
What happened? You're probably just going to get 10 weeks.
Any idea on how much this will cost the state if we did extend it?
Yeah, if you work for Ronald McDonald's, making $1.50, if my figures are accurate, and I got them from a source out of the Oklahoma, and looking at, most people are running out. Since April of this year, it's like someone took a meat cleaver to the workforce in Oklahoma and just cut it in half. And the Oklahoma unemployment laws are so restrictive. As a matter of fact, they rank 50th in the United States as being as restrictive as they are.
Fear of flying. It's a phobia that has caused problems for people from all walks of life. And until recently, there had not been a lot of research in the area. A few books, a few lectures, and you're on your own. But not anymore. A retired airline pilot with 33 years' experience has started a seminar called the Program for the Fearful Flyer. Captain T.W. Cummings is the man responsible. Cummings says that of the 25 million people fearful of flying, most are from the business community, and most have restrictive lives because of it. But there are practical approaches to the problem. Acquaint them with the airplane.
We'll spend about 3 hours on that airplane, walking around it, going into the cockpit, going outside, going in one of the small toilets, which is tough for the people who are claustrophobic. So we're going to familiarize themselves with this beast that they're so turned off with.
The seminar concludes when the students take a real flight on a real plane with their very real fears. For some, it's anxious. For others, terrifying. But Cummings claims a high success rate and says at least 75% of the students begin flying regularly after the seminar. Oklahoma residents who share a similar fear will be able to see for themselves that the captain's methods work when he brings the seminar to Oklahoma City in October. Kevin Ogle, Action 4.
Now, in that cassette.
But they said, I just talked to them on my CB, I'm keeping them on Channel 5.
Happy to have with us tonight School Board Attorney Eric Groves, who's been quite busy for the past 3 weeks. Eric, what does the judge's decision mean to you? What is he trying to say?
It's uncertain what he's trying to say. From a reading of the opinion today, the judge seemed to hold that there was an agreement to falsify those travel claims. He denounced the agreement as wrong and said it was probably illegal, but declined to punish the principal for it.
Your gut reaction is probably to appeal.
My personal reaction is that it's very difficult to understand how the judge could have found these acts to have happened and to have been wrongful, and yet not to find them acts of moral turpitude or willfully neglectful. My personal inclination is to appeal, but that's something the board is going to have to decide.
You feel that moral turpitude is pretty well spelled out in the law?
I believe it is in Oklahoma law, yes. It's been spelled out in cases of lawyers and police officers and other public officials.
Okay. Eric, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Linda?
China on Taiwan yesterday signed an agreement to buy manufactured products, for example, from CMI, which is located. What it will mean is that the highway will be constructed and brought up to standards as the traffic dictates. For example, segments will be 4-laned. Some will be simply widened. But in every case, from the Kansas border to the Texas border, either what has been improved, what is improved, being improved currently, or what will be improved under the projected 5-year program, every single foot of the Chisolm Trail, Highway 81, will have been upgraded in Oklahoma.
They will support and make possible will strengthen the entire academic program.
Center's completion, it will tower as a strong structure.
Great friend of ours from Houston, Texas, Mr. Brian O'Brien.
Center, and that will be done by.
It may not be as much as we thought originally. There's some question, of course, on the Saxon stock and all that, but I think the commitment here, and you see the people involved, that there is going to be a follow-up. General Jay Edwards, a good friend of ours who has become the director, is going to be very successful, I think, in that area. And I think you'll see once the concept is on the ground, that people see the groundbreaking, they see the achievement, then you're going to see a follow-up on the support.
Well, we're satisfied in examining it that it was quite an operation in and of itself at this time. $10 limits is a fairly expensive pastime as far as gambling goes, and some of the background interviewing that we had been doing and have been and will do, continue to do, indicating levels of indebtedness up to $10,000 thereabouts. That's, and speaking to my budget, that's an awful lot of money.
Surely the workload will be very heavy. We experienced a rather sharp reduction in staffing last year that has made it difficult to process individuals as rapidly as we would like. However, we fully anticipate that we'll be able to handle the workload.
Possibly have got something to say. To do anything other than appeal Judge Fisher's opinion and proceed with remaining hearings would lower the standards of the school board, the school system, the community, and most importantly of all, the standards of education the children of Moore receive.
Many businesses near Northeast 23rd Street and Eastern are black-owned and operated. In the past, government low-interest loans enabled blacks to start companies of their own. But the Reagan administration's budget-cutting policies has changed the picture. Minority business growth is slower now than it has been in years, according to several Oklahoma City black businessmen and women. They also point out the business community as a whole is not booming as much as the administration had promised. The Urban League feels Reaganomics has made a big mistake by taking away incentives for minority businesses.
Blacks historically have had to weather discrimination, even racist policies on behalf of a government that was originated to promote the welfare of all its citizens. So we're saying that black people just want an opportunity to become businessmen or any other thing that they wish to pursue. And given that opportunity, it's been demonstrated over the years that black people can own, operate, and manage their own businesses.
Most black business owners are keeping a close eye on what lawmakers will do in coming months to boost the economy. Until then, the message remains the same from Washington, which is, be patient and the situation should get better. Ed Stewart, Action 4, Northeast Oklahoma City.
Many times it's the innocent victim, and it's upsetting to see that, and yet we see it all the time. And when we go through our reports, we'll have viewed the body, seen the injuries in drivers that come in, and then we, a day or so later, got the alcohol result. They're not just 0.10. They're 0.27, they're 0.30, they're 0.24, 0.19. That's the range that our people are driving down the road in. And people need to get upset about it. They need to do something about it.